So grit is about taking action. So we've got the first step, setting your GPS. We're going to continue to do that. Number 2 is the time cleanse. And now it's grit. It's getting and taking action. And grit is an interesting word. It's not a common word. It's being used more now. I've been using it. It's in my book. It's about passion and perseverance in the face of adversity. Grit, G-R-I-T. It's about being able to push through in the face of adversity. There is some very, very interesting research on this. As you know, I told you I'm a researcher. That means I research and do my own. Angela Duckworth, on her book Grit, came up with some very, very interesting research. She studied West Point cadets, spelling bee champions, inner city kids, CEOs, and what she found was quite interesting. What she found was this, is that talent is important, but what's even more important than talent is grit. And she studied this for a long period of time. It wasn't just one study. And I thought that was great news because I thought about my background. I mean, I had some good talent, but I had grit. And how I learned about grit, we got to go back about 33 years ago when I walked into my first boxing gym. When I walked into this dark, dingy boxing gym in Chicago, I was 18 years or so, and luck was on my side that day. Because that day, I met one of my mentors, one of my coaches, a guy named Tom Delaney. And the first thing I noticed about Tom Delaney when I walked into that gym, scared to death by the way, is that he had this interesting scent of Old Spice cologne and sweat, all in this concoction. I was like, I don't know if anyone's ever smelled Old Spice. Yeah, it's a very interesting scent. And in his 50s, he had kind of a little bit of a beer belly, and he took me under his wing. And I say luck was on my side that day because what was about to happen in my life was a mentor, a coach, that saw what I couldn't see, saw my ability. And Tom, he wasn't a great boxing coach, but he was a great mind. So he brought great coaches in to work with me, but he was a great human being. He knew how to connect. What he taught me was grit though, how to face adversity. How to keep going in the most difficult times. And he just had a way of connecting with me. And the great thing about Tom Delaney is he was always in my corner, no matter what. In the ring, outside of the ring, he was in my corner. If I had difficult times, troubles, when I had tough fights, he was just there. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about being in the corner. And what I believe when we talk about grit and about coaching is that everyone should have a Tom Delaney in their corner that sees who you truly are, what your capabilities are. Because each and every one of you, I guarantee you, have some blind spots. And when we get into grit, we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to show you how I've broken this down. But what Tom Delaney was for me became a model for me to be for others. That became my service work. How could I be Tom Delaney for other people? How could I be in the corner for other people? And that became my life's work. But it wasn't until that day where he saw something in me that I couldn't see. Here's a picture of me and Tom about a year or two ago. I always go back into Chicago to see him and have our coffee. Last couple times met Yuki, and just always there in spirit and mind, always in my corner. Because I believe this. High performers always do it themselves, but they never do it alone. You see, when we look at your lives, it may be a coach, it may be a mom, it may be a dad, but you never do it alone. You look back at your life. Somebody was there for you. Somebody helped you. But you had to do the work. You're doing the work here. I can't do the work. I'm showing you the path, but you've got to do it. You'll find a way to do it, or you'll find a way not to do it, but you'll find a way. And it won't be in the middle of the road. Because if you are in the middle of the road, you are not on the road. Is that correct? Yeah, you'll find your way. But this whole thing about grit, it starts with the G, and that's going for it. You heard me talk about making a decision? You've got to make a decision. And here's the thing. If you haven't made a decision about a goal, that's totally okay. You're better off saying, you know what, I'm not going to decide right now, I'm not going for that, than pretending that you're going for it. Got it? Got it. Guys are getting serious. I know it's lunch. Got it? Got it. Right. This next 45 minutes, you know, when I was exposed to this almost 20 years ago, 25 years ago, is life-changing. I don't say that lightly, because once you find your blind spot, there's an interesting thing. You can never not know what you know after that point. I'm going to say that again. You can never not know what you discovered. You can choose not to do anything about it. When I said it wasn't your fault if you're not getting what you want, I truly meant that. Because when you're in a blind spot, you can't see what you can't see. You can't see it. So here's a question for you. There's going to be a couple questions. What's the number one question you keep asking yourself about your life or your business? And it goes like this if you need a little help. Why can't I fill in the blank like Bob? Why am I not fill in the blank? So what's the one question you are asking yourself about your life or your business that's the most consistent question? And it's usually why I'm not something. Gosh, why am I not further along? Why am I not getting this done? So I want you to think about what that question is. Just write it down. Right now. 1 minute. What's the one question? And whatever comes up. If nothing's coming up for you right now, it will. Right now, 1 minute, just write down. What's the number one question that you ask yourself?